Hello, and welcome to Improbable Things. I'm J. Grace Pennington, and this is my podcast where I share 6 improbable thoughts before breakfast, which consists of 6 thoughts about reading, writing, or storytelling in general. So I am up early, got my 6 things together, and ready to get started. So number 1, of course, I had to give you the update on my novella Southeaster Lodge, which is part of the Very Bookish Romance holiday collection, and it released on the 14th. So it is now out, so you can get it on ebook and paperback, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some reviews and some, people's thoughts start to roll in, and also looking forward to getting my own collection, my own copy of it, and reading some of the other books in it. I think I mentioned that I've read obviously mine and then one of the others, and it was just so sweet and charming. And so I'm really excited to read the rest of them. And this is the last of the Very Bookish holiday collections. So definitely try to get a hold of this one, especially if you like sweet romance stories or classic literature. And of course, be sure to let me know what you think of any of the stories, but I am particularly interested to hear how people like my story, Southeaster Lodge. Number 2, I mentioned I've been working a little bit every day on the next Firmament book, Progenitor, and I've continued to do that, and it's not a lot. Each day I'm up to only about 7,000 words, so I would like to start getting a little more done, but if not, that's okay. Like, that is part of my goal for this year, is to be very flexible. But I will say, yesterday I actually got to one of those scenes that there's a few parts out of the whole series that I've been so excited for ever since I planned it, all those years ago. And I just got to one of those scenes yesterday where I've just been waiting to get to this point. And in fact, on some of those scenes, I was so excited for them that I went ahead and wrote a version of just those scenes years and years ago, like a decade ago. And so that was one of the places I got to yesterday. And I can't take the version I already wrote, because for one thing, the story has changed and evolved some. So some of it that is not true anymore, but also my writing, thankfully, has improved so much in that time that the old versions make me cringe quite a bit, but still it is fun. It's almost like going back to an old favorite place. Like, I've been at this scene before, and it's been in my mind, and it's been, again, written down in a form. And so I was really happy to get to that, and I think it's going to really help keep propelling me forward into the story, because it's something that really excites me. And it has to do with character relationships, because that is my favorite part of the Firmament series, or any book or story ever. And it was very satisfying to get back there and tell it right, and in a way that I hope readers will enjoy also. And looking forward to moving on to the rest of the story, and hopefully the rest of it will excite me also. Number 3, tonight is actually going to be my book club's first meeting for the year. And what we do for the January meeting, they have what they call Fight Night. And that is where everyone brings maybe 2 or 3 suggestions for books they would like us to read for the rest of the year. And from that sampling, we have to choose 11 titles to fit into the rest of the months of this year. And so people basically get to try to defend their suggestions. There's a whiteboard involved. You have different rounds of voting. Sometimes we have specific categories to fill. And then once we get it whittled down to 11 books, then we choose, what month each of those books is going to go in, who's going to be providing the food for that month. It's a whole thing. And some people can get very intense and opinionated about it. And I'm not going to say whether I'm one of them. I'll just let you guess. But it's a lot of fun. It can get a little heated in a good way. And one thing that is going to be a little bit different for me is that the last 2 years when I've been involved, I spent a lot of time beforehand carefully cultivating what books I was going to bring. In fact, last year I had like a running list that I was like narrowing down and carefully like carving out my 3 titles I was going to bring throughout the whole year. And I came with a very, very thought over list. And this time I have literally not put 1 second of thought into it the whole year. And partly I think because I found I did get like putting that kind of ridiculous amount of effort into it, perhaps, made it maybe more, more attached to the idea of reading them with book club, and not all of them got picked. And so, I decided what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to look at it this afternoon, and I'm basically going to pick a couple of things off my to-read list, because I always have a long running to-read list going, and I thought I'll just pick a couple things off of that I'm going to read anyway, and that I think people would enjoy reading along with me, and that would make a good discussion. So I'm going to sit down today and pick a couple of titles for that. So it's also intense. I just had a dream about it this morning, and I woke up from it. It's one of those dreams where you're like, thank goodness that was a dream, because it was all like, I forgot the food that I had cooked for it, because it's potluck also on fight night. And I had made all this food and forgot to bring it, and I got lost on the way there. And then when I got there, something happened. I like blacked out and couldn't remember any of the books we chose, like just one of those kinds of dreams. So hopefully none of that will actually happen. Although I have been known to forget things that I had set aside to bring. So maybe it was a warning to really remind me to make sure I take my dish along. The number 4. I know I've talked about how my oldest, Violet, has been learning to read, and she's just been really continuing to blossom in that. And so last night she sat with me and her sister, and she read us the book 10 Apples Up on Top, almost completely by herself from beginning to end. I had to help her with a couple of the words, but she's so delighted with herself, and it's so much fun. And it just made me think how much, like, with all of my kids, it's, it can be a lot, definitely, being with them day in and day out. And now, even though I'm just only barely beginning to get into homeschooling, it's a lot to add to having a lot of small kids and things going on and things to take care of. But it was just such a sweet reminder last night watching her do this, like, of one of the many reasons that I would not trade it for anything, because I get to see that excitement and that understanding grow, and I get to see her journey and be a part of it, and just watch the little light bulb moments, and watch her be able to open this whole new world of reading, and just, I don't know, just seeing that through her eyes is just absolutely wonderful. And I'm already now, my second daughter, who's 4, because she listens in on our reading lessons too, and she started asking me, she's like, when can I do that book? When can I do that reading book? So I told her, like, well, when Violet's done, later this year, maybe you and I can try it and see if you're ready for it. So yeah, I love getting to be such a huge part of their learning and watching them grow. So number 5, I finally finished Frank Peretti's Prophet, and it was very good. I really enjoyed it. Really glad that I finally got around to reading it. And I actually recommended it to my husband, who almost never reads books, but it did remind me a lot of some of his favorite books. So will he read it? I don't know, but I think he would enjoy it, and I thought it was really good. So right now I'm reading Prayers for the Battlefield by Heidi St. John. And it's a collection, I would say it's like partly devotional, partly prayers, and it's for moms. So I got it. Well, I attended this homeschool moms retreat a few years ago, and my mother-in-law was there with me and asked me if there were any books there that she could get me. And this one had been mentioned in some of the talks. Plus, it's really cute. It had like a purple hardcover, very, very nice. And so anyway, she bought it for me, and I just, as often happens, have not gotten around to it yet. But I picked it up and been reading through it, and it's very encouraging. It goes through kind of lots of different situations or things that a mom might be feeling or dealing with, and has like a little brief encouragement about that, and then a prayer. And so I'm just enjoying just reading through it, just like any book. I mean, it's, like I said, so encouraging, very sweet, and always very timely. Like there's always so much going on as a mom, things to be tempted to worry about, things to deal with, things to figure out. And so just having these reminders of the ways that God cares for us and the ways that we can turn to Him with our worries and cares. It's very nice. I'm glad that I picked it up to read it. And it's a pretty small book, so it should also be a pretty quick read. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. So number 6, I've been going over my books from the last year and doing mini reviews on them for Kindle Vella. And I'm about, I think, 24 books in. And it's just really striking me yet again how eclectic my reading tastes are. And it's also been on my mind because I've heard people say recently, like, oh, I don't read this, I don't read that, I don't like nonfiction, or I don't like, such and so, genre, children's books or fantasy or whatever. And it's always interesting to me because certainly there are genres that I am naturally more drawn to, absolutely, and types of books and authors that are favorites of mine and things like that. But I have never been someone that wants to limit myself to specific types of books or genres of books or anything like that. Like, when I say I will read anything, like as long as it's not something extremely objectionable, like anything that I view as being worth my time in any way at all, I'm happy to read. And maybe that is partly because I'm such a fast reader, so I have an opportunity to read all the things I most want to read and lots of other things too. But I've also found so many times that there are so many books that I maybe wouldn't have naturally picked up if I was just going by my very favorite types of books, but somebody suggested, or it was in book club, or someone gave it to me or something like that, and I read it and it becomes a favorite, or it's extremely meaningful to me, or I learn something from it or whatever. Like, books are just so powerful, whether it is fiction, nonfiction, different genres, short, long, whatever it is. I don't know, I've just always felt like this just drive to read, and I don't know what it is. I know some people don't feel that way, and for me it's just like, I know that this is true of other people that would consider themselves readers. You just go into a bookstore or a library and you have this sort of overwhelming urge to just read all of it. And I feel the same just looking at my bookshelf. I'm just like, oh, I gotta find more time. Like, there's so many books to read. There's so many books in the world. And the thought makes me so happy. Like, I know, like, there's always going to be more to read. And it really excites me. And even like with book club, there's been some books that I was not very excited to read just because the synopsis didn't sound interesting to me or whatever. And some of those have ended up being so beautiful and have been some of my favorites, or have been really practical to me in some way. And so you can't really judge a book by its cover or by even the type of book that it is. And so it's always been very important to me to just read anything good, read anything that I can. And just, I feel that it broadens my horizons in such a massive way, in a way that's so important to me. And so, yeah, I don't know, it's a small rant, but it's just something that, especially I think yesterday I did a Vella episode that had 4 reviews, and there was a murder mystery, there was some like Christian nonfiction, a devotional type book for moms, there was like a coming of age type fiction, story. Like, there was just like, it was all over the place just between those 4 titles that I read in a row last year. And I love that. I love that I have this desire to just read any books and, take what is good out of them. And anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that, except that it's been on my mind and I just wanted to share my thoughts on it with y'all. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate anyone taking the time to just sit down with me and think these improbable thoughts early in the morning, go over different things about storytelling, about books and how much we love them. And if you have gotten your copy of Very Bookish Romance, please let me know once you start reading it what you think. If you have a to-read list for the year at all, I would love to hear what titles are on it. And if you have any particular opinions about genres that you like, or how you feel about reading in general and what kinds of things that you want to prioritize to read, I would love to have these discussions with any other fellow story lovers. So thank you all so much for listening this morning. And again, I hope you have a great day and a great weekend ahead, and stay improbable. Bye.